Hamdi from London. He is the editor-in-chief of the International Interest. Sami, thanks so much for speaking to us. First, I just want to get your take on what you make of this vote today and the fact that the deployment has been approved for Turkish troops to go to Libya.
The vote was expected. The vote was it was never in doubt that the motion would actually be passed. It would have been actually a huge humiliation to Turkey if the vote hadn't actually gone past. Moreover, for Turkey, Libya is a vital area. It has to get involved. The government in Libya has its back to the wall. Haftar is advancing in Tripoli with the support of the UAE, of Egypt, of France, of Saudi Arabia, of an apathetic US, of Russia. In other words, it seems that the international community is backing the warlord, whereas the internationally recognized government has been abandoned by all of the parties. Turkey is getting involved not necessarily to save this particular government itself, but in order to make sure that this government continues to have a seat on the negotiating table. Because without Turkish intervention, without any intervention, in fact, in favor of the government, then this government is going to be defeated. And if it is defeated, then it will not have, then this talk of negotiation, this talk of finding a diplomatic solution goes out of the window, and the discussion instead turns as to how we deal with another general ruling a country, neighboring Sisi, who overthrew a democratically elected president. So this law was always going to go through. Whether Turkish troops actually get sent immediately or whether this is another step of upping the pressure on the international community to force through a negotiation or discussion remains to be seen. However, Turkey, the attitude that is displaying is that it will not allow the government to be defeated. And if need be, troops will go in to save the government.
Okay. We have to talk about something else very important at play here, Sami, and that's what is at stake for the various countries involved in this conflict economically. We know France has major energy deals involving Total, Israel, Greece and Greek-administered Cyprus are finalizing plans for their pipeline. Turkey also signed a cooperation agreement with Libya. A lot of financial interest is at stake here.
A lot of financial interest is at stake. But before the financial interest, I think a lot of these nations now are actually mobilizing out of fear of this growing, emerging power that is Turkey. Turkey is becoming an increasingly expansionist power. Put yourself in the position of Greece or Cyprus or Israel or Egypt. Turkey is now sitting at the same negotiating table as Russia with regards to Syria. They're sitting on the same negotiating table as the US. Turkey is no longer this insular country that has nothing to do with the affairs outside of its border. Turkey is now heavily involved in the Balkans. It is empowering the Balkan states that are struggling from the conditions that the EU are imposing with regards to their accession. Turkey's soft power now stretches across the entire Muslim world. These countries, more than the financial benefits, they are worried now that they do not have enough leverage in order to sit with Turkey on a level playing field. And this is why we see with the East Mediterranean pipeline, it makes no sense strategically to exclude Turkey from discussions with regards to this pipeline deal, because Turkey has the longest shore, the longest coastline on the Mediterranean. So anybody who brings out a map of the Mediterranean, anybody who wants to see this in action, will see that to Turkey's west, to northwest, you have Greece and Italy. To its direct west, you have Cyprus. To its south, you have Egypt. And if Haftar takes Tripoli, if he takes Libya, that is pro-UAE, anti-Turkey, antagonistic towards Turkey. You see that the Turkish maritime interests suddenly become at the mercy of everybody who wants to see Turkey go back into its domestic shell. And this is why when we look at the reaction of these countries towards Turkey, it's more than the financial interest. I think now what we see is that Turkey is being forced to act. But if these countries really want to find some sort of security, they just have to go to Ankara and negotiate.
Quickly, Sami, you mentioned Russia very briefly, and you know President Erdogan will be speaking to President Putin in about 6 days' time. Do you expect at least Russia to get on side with Turkey and recognize the issues that you've just addressed there?
I don't think Russia will recognize the economic issues in the Mediterranean. I think they are happy to have Turkey as an ally, but they are wary of Turkey's growing power. But they have common interests. In Libya, I don't think Russia wants to install Haftar. I think Russia just wants to impose itself, to force itself, to tell the Libyans, I have power to do something. Come to Moscow, don't go to Washington. I think Russia and Turkey agree on the need for mediation, but Russia wants to squeeze Turkey for every possible gain before it agrees on mediation. This is why I think that there is discussions going on with regards to Idlib. The Russians want Turkey to stop backing the factions over there, but I think Russia is on board with Turkey on a lot of those particular issues, and I think that if it feels there is more room for developing those relations, we may well see that they get on board even on the Mediterranean economic issues, because we know that Russia wants an access to the Mediterranean aside from the Tartus military base that it already has. And given that Erdogan is upset with the treatment of the EU and the treatment of the US, it may well be that Erdogan says one day, look, guys, EU, I tried many years to join the EU. You guys ignored me. US, you guys keep treating me very badly. You know what, Russia? Let's join hand in hand. I'll give you access to the Mediterranean, and let's make a new superpower bloc and alter the global dynamics.
Sami Hamdi there from London. Thank you so much.